Welcome to Public Health Matters, where we talk about matters in public health. My name is Jane Goodman, and I'm a communications specialist with the Division of Public Health and Community Services. Today I have Michael Conneely joining me, who is the owner of Peddler's Daughter in Nashua. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's always interesting to have someone who owns a restaurant on our show, something very different for us because we're often talking about statistics and other things.
Sure.
But public health and restaurant tiering is very intertwined these days. So we appreciate you coming on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Peddler's Daughter? And I know you're in two locations, so tell us about both.
Sure. Yeah, we've got a location in downtown Nashua, right at the end of Main Street. And our first location is in Haverhill, Massachusetts. We opened that 21 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And we actually have another restaurant in Haverhill as well called Shoe City Urban Bistro. And that has been there for 19 years. And then in Nashua, we opened that in 2005.
Oh, it's already been 15 years?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I can't believe it. I'm starting to feel old.
Time flies.
I remember when it opened.
Nice.
So tell us, you guys have the restaurant business, as we talked a little bit before the show aired, that the restaurant business has definitely been struggling. You know, you see that in the news. Nashua is no different. You did have to close for a while. But tell me about your business before COVID hit.
Well, before COVID hit, business was very, very good, I thought. It was on an upswing from 2018. 18 was a bit of a slower year for us. 2019 was a better year than 2018. And it was on an upswing, and we felt that the economy was getting a little bit better. People were spending, banks were lending, and obviously that's a force to drive business to the restaurants. And I think people were seeing money in their pockets a little bit from the tax breaks people were getting, so on and so forth. And business was good, a lot of new products coming out of the industry and a lot of innovations for food and the business around Nashua as well was very decent for us.
When you say innovations around food, what do you mean?
Well, meaning like there was a lot more products coming out, and people were veering away from mashed potatoes, meat and mashed potatoes and stuff like that. So we could, in turn, bring some other dishes to the table in the Irish pub atmosphere. If we had a tune on, for instance, people would eat that and they say, well, I wouldn't eat a tune in an Irish restaurant. So
but now they will.
Now they will, yeah. So we're open to a lot more innovative, with the food and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I have to say, from my own personal standpoint, I'm a big fan of the corned beef and your ketchup. Not together, but that ketchup that you guys make is just to die for. And so I hope that, people, if they're getting takeout or they're dining in, they're getting a side of ketchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're labeling it as well for sale as well.
You are?
Yes, we are.
That's like the best news I've heard all week.
And we're going to be putting it on the shelves. Well, we were supposed to do it this year, but now delayed until probably till next year.
Well, I hope that's a big seller for you.
Well, I hope so too.
That is really a great product. So now we're in COVID times, and we found you, Michael, because you have a giant blow up of our public health poster on your window, which just tickled our director to no end, because we have been putting that messaging out really for months now. And to see it so big, of course, we did not have three types of beer at the bottom like you did, and we'll show that on the screen. But but tell me, what motivated you to actually, embrace some of the public health measures that we've been really pushing hard on?
Well, during the lockdown, we kind of studied and looked to see where we could better our industry as we opened up again. And again, I think it's public awareness is number one. And to educate the public, and not everybody watches TVs or reads the newspaper or the internet, but people come out and they wanted to do the same thing they were always doing. So we wanted to educate the people as we moved along. And obviously signage is a great vehicle to be able to drive that message forward. So that's what we did. We had some other posters as well, but unfortunately, people tear them down and stuff like that, some vandalism. But we posted those posters in the front of the building as people are entering it, and as well as that on our outside patio as well. And through the restaurant as well, we have a lot of signage in the bathrooms and on the walls where other promotional posters might have been. So we wanted to, some of the posters that come out are a little smaller, so we emphasize on blowing them up and getting the message across that way.
Well, we really appreciate that, because we do give those out at every testing clinic, and we are always trying to post them in the schools and wherever we can get our message out. We even post them around our office because people need reminders.
Absolutely.
To slow the spread of this virus, and we're all in it together. So I do appreciate that. You had some. How is it now if I am going to Peddler's.org? What are the precautions? How will it look different if I'm going in? For example, at the bar, are people wearing masks inside?
Well, first of all, as you enter, we've got signage everywhere again. That if you do not wear a mask, you're not getting in. First of all, you'll be stopped at the door and asked to you have a mask, put one on. If not, then we'll provide one for you, and we will tell the customers the protocol that if once you sit at the table, you can take your mask off, eating and drinking. But if you are going to the restaurant, you have to wear a mask. So when people sit at the bar, it's the same thing, that they take their mask off when they're eating and drinking, and if they move around the restaurant, that they have to have their mask on. And we do have social distancing at the bar. And then everybody that comes in the restaurant, they're checked in either by the hostess, by the waitress, or the bartender. So they are greeted within in a couple of seconds, in 30 seconds, we hope.
So there's no crowding in the doorway?
There's no crowding in the doorway, absolutely not. And we are very conscious of that, to educate the customers as well to keep their distance when they're coming in. And people have been, most of the time have been respectful of that, and it was very harder at the beginning when we reopened back up to educate people. People were, we weren't patient and going by each other and stuff like that. But in time, people have realized that they have to do that and are getting better at doing that, and makes our life a lot easier as well.
Sure. So we were talking again in public health that we're asking people to make some hard changes, hard sacrifices, but they're so necessary. So they're necessary for businesses like you and other restaurants that are in the downtown area in order to open up. If we don't make these hard, and I don't even know if I'd call it a sacrifice at this point to wear a mask I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was hard to get used to for myself individually as well. But I think it's just a habit, like putting on your shoes and tying your lace in the morning. It becomes just second nature. Then when you're leaving, do you have a mask? And we have a couple of spare ones. Every coat that I wear now, I have a spare one. God forbid I forget the other one. But yeah, it's educational, and our staff are great at that as well. And asking customers, please put on your mask, or if there's a case that happens. There has been some times where people have got a little bit, rambunctious, saying, well, we're not, our constitutional right, we're not going to be wearing a mask and stuff like that. So we've asked some people to leave. All the times that we've been open, it's come to that as well, where some of the younger people at nighttime, they think, they're immune to everything, and we've asked them to leave because they didn't have a mask on. We refused entry,
Right. And that's not an easy thing to do.
Absolutely
It's not an easy thing as an adult, and I would imagine some of your staff might be on the younger side, some of your servers perhaps, and they have to really be assertive. Please put your mask on.
Yeah, absolutely, because people will come in, and then some people forget as well. They have a lot of things going on in their life. They could be on the phone and, did I have it on? I thought I had it on, and stuff like that. So it just takes reminding all the time, and our staff are very good at that. And then obviously in turn, we're like a broken record as well, reminding them. So right. it goes around, the wheel spins.
So speaking of broken records, you must have to somewhat retrain your staff. I mean, beyond the mask wearing, for safety precautions, and kind of getting them ready for this new reality that is not going away anytime soon. Constant reminders, probably. Yeah,
absolutely. We have meetings. We have meetings every week with the managers. We're having another one today about the new protocols that are coming in. So we have constant reminders, and we have daily pre-meal meetings as well, and to ensure that there is nothing missed. The bathrooms are checked. There is nothing missed, and everything is sanitized. Right. And we have our other stations in order, sanitation products on all the stations and stuff like that. So we're constantly double checking that. Absolutely.
That's great. And probably not met with a lot of resistance, because your staff probably really wanted to get back to work.
Of course they did, yeah. And they realize now what they've got to do to still earn, they're not earning as much as they were, or comparatively what they were earning before COVID, but to maintain what they're earning right now, obviously they have to, do these extra duties as well. And I think people are taking it in their stride right now. It was difficult at the beginning, but right now people are taking it in their stride.
So you're not quite back up to where you were pre-COVID, but are you seeing more people for lunch, for dinner, or for the bar?
Well, we're not. We're seeing a decrease in the last couple of weeks. We didn't open up back for lunch because obviously the offices and stuff around us are not back to work. Everybody's working from home, and so people are not back downtown. So we didn't open for lunch, but at night time we are seeing people coming out, but the times are very different. It's very staggered. There can be a lull about 9 o'clock where some of the younger people are coming out, the older people have gone home. So the times are very different. And then Saturday night is not what it was. And you could have your Saturday night and a Monday night. So it's very, very uneven right now.
Okay.
And business is really down probably 40% all told, all the way through.
So that's tough. One thing was mentioned to me that you're working with a lot of people in downtown Nashua, whether it's through the chamber or through the city, to really make sure that restaurants get a fair deal in this whole thing. Can you tell me about some of that work and some of the people you're working with?
Yeah. So Paul Shea from the Downtown Association, Greater Downtown Nashua there, the chamber. So what we're trying to do is focus in on the restaurants that we're not forgotten about, because it's very, very hard to make a dollar in this industry to begin with. So we want to make sure that we're not forgotten about there as an industry. So again, the mayor was very good, on doing the outside dining. The economic development director was great, Tim Cummings. And when they gave us that outside dining, that was a lifeline. A lot of restaurants would not have survived without that.
Right.
So we gained an extra 80 seats down there. And then that just the people that were inside, it just replaced the seats on the inside for us, because people were not going in at the beginning.
Right.
If we did 100 people, 5% of that people would not be going would only be going inside. So that was the lifeline for Nashua downtown, was that outside seating.
So on a day like today, which is miserable, obviously outdoor seating doesn't work. A little bit before the show, we also talked about, maybe you mentioned you'd like to keep that. Going forward, I mean, how long do you think you can keep that in this season, or maybe it could open up earlier in the spring?
Yeah, the deadline, I believe, is the November 15th that we were required to remove all that stuff. But there's a discussion on Monday about that as well, I think, leading into what's going to happen with it. I'd like to keep it as long as possible, because, you have those Indian summers coming into in December as well, that people can be sitting outside. And due to the COVID right now, everybody wants to be outside. We have some fire pits down there as well.
Oh,
so
good to know.
So people can, warm up, and want to have a beverage outside. So people are not going to stay as long, obviously, but we'd like to keep it as long as possible. And obviously, whenever possible next year, weather depending, to open it again, if we're allowed to do that. So hopefully moving forward, that we do have that tool moving forward, because that, and it brings great vibrance to downtown as well. It's not doom and gloom anymore. It's just, but there's hustle and bustle down there. It adds a lot of effervescence to it.
Yeah. We my husband and I did brave the downtown area outside dining as well.
Yeah.
And we really did. We felt some energy, and it was great to be out, and we saw so many people. We didn't realize how many people we hadn't seen for months.
Right,
So,
yeah.
Just not really getting out, and so it really did have that really great spirit. So I hope we do get that Indian summer tomorrow.
I hope so too. Yeah. But the other thing about the vibrance of downtown is when you're outside, people act very differently. They're out, they're not indoors, and there's just an energy about it. It is New Hampshire at the end of the day, and it's about the outdoors. So hopefully we'll see this going forward. And if you go to Europe, all those hustle and bustle in those European cities, it's all outside dining. Those little cafes and stuff, there's 40, 50 seats outside each one of them, and it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. So once we maintain, obviously, all the control and everything like that, but I think it should happen all the way through.
Yeah, I hope it does keep happening, because it's the closest to Europe I'll be getting
for a while.
for quite a while.
Yeah, of course.
So our timing is pretty good on this, because the governor just asked that all. Through the Restaurant Association, I believe it's New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurant Association, has requested that New Hampshire restaurants have a sign-in for all clientele that are going to come in, all diners, to please sign in, write your name and your phone number. And we do this for contact tracing, pure and simple, because if, heaven forbid, there is a case or an exposure within the restaurant, because as they do fill up and it is getting cold out, they will be fuller. So they have done the sign in and dine in. So this is hot off the presses. I brought this for you today.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
A little explanation for the customer to understand why they're doing it. They are being required to do this. And we're asking, where's your table? Because, if there's an exposure in a restaurant, for example, you're not necessarily closing down the restaurant. You're not emptying it out. You're not sending your staff home. You're really trying to isolate where that exposure occurred. And if it's in the front corner of the restaurant, because we collected this information, then we're that much better off. It's better for you as a business owner, and it's certainly better for your clients who don't have to panic. Oh, I was there on that day. Right.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's necessary. We've been doing this in Massachusetts since we opened the contact tracing, and it's worked very well. There's been, nobody, people are very willing to give their information. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be used in a proper manner. We store it, file it, and and if we're required to use it, we have it right there. But I think it's great. It's great for the restaurant industry to have this. I think it's a great tool. Absolutely.
Right. And you're keeping it confidential. You're not going to go and market, send people texts with this information.
Exactly, yeah.
The idea is that if there is an exposure, you're going to be able to get in contact with them.
Yes.
And so, we ask people to please cooperate with this. And, this isn't the restaurant. This isn't Big Brother. This is just really for the public health safety of our community and to keep our businesses flourishing in downtown Nashua. It's so important. It's important not only for the health of your workers and our community, but for our mental health to be able to go out and to enjoy an evening. That we know we're dining in a safe experience. And it sounds like you've really created that in your restaurant, and with the spacing and the masks and the reminders and the hygiene. So we really appreciate all that effort.
Well, thank you. And I think it is important for the person going out to feel safe, because there's enough stress going on in the world right now.
Oh, yes.
And once they enter that restaurant, they don't need to be stressed out again. Is this clean? Is it not clean? Has it been wiped down? Are people wearing masks? So what we try to do is alleviate that, to de-stress a little bit, I guess. And when they come in, people enjoy themselves and relax and forget about COVID for half an hour,
Right, that would be nice.
So if we could, but we try to support as much as possible in that way.
Well, we appreciate that, and we wish you all the luck as you move forward.
Thank you.
The luck of the Irish.
Yeah, we hope so.
And the luck of all the other people as well.
Yeah.
Because this is a challenging time, and I hope people will go out. One last question? Can you take out your food?
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do takeout as well. And then, we're pushing takeout today due to the fact of the day that's in it. So it's a good day for stick to your ribs, like shepherd's pie and beef stew. And,
it sounds delicious.
Like day like today. So.
Yeah. Well, you guys have fabulous food.
Well, thank you.
So I'm going to put that on my list of places for takeout for us. And again, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your efforts on behalf of our community and also your staff and keeping your business going. These are tough times, but we're going to get through this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of homemade ketchup in my future. I feel it.
Well, thank you for that.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, and we'll be back with our next guest.
If you love them enough to do this, surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Your girls have been with you through every moment of your life. They were with you when you felt unbreakable, and with you when you had your heart broken. They were with you when you shared your love with the world, and with you when she became your world. They're still with you right now. But how well do you know them?
Welcome to Public Health Matters, where we talk about matters in public health. I'm joined by another Michael right now, Michael Reinke, Director of the Nashua Soup Kitchen and Shelter. Welcome, Michael.
Jane, so good to be here. Thank you.
So, in full disclosure, I am a board member of the Nashua Soup Kitchen and Shelter.
Right, so I sort of had to be here, actually.
So, so I forced you to come.
Right.
And you know, food insecurity has a lot to do with public health. So of course, we've been wanting to have you on for a while, because there are a lot of organizations in our community that really lift up those that are most vulnerable. And you know, if you don't have a meal to eat and a roof over your head, your health is probably the third thing to follow that is not so great.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we call them the social determinants of health around my office, but, you know, basically you can't function without certain basic things. And, you know, food, housing, income, you know, all those things kind of
those are things
lift
we
up.
need.
Yeah.
Well, you think about some of the major health issues we have today, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure. They're all related in some way to nutrition and what you're eating or not eating. You know, that was actually one of the big reasons why your viewers may or may not know that there's something called Nashua Meals for Kids, which is how do we get meals out to kids who are hungry in our community. NSKS started that 3 years ago now. And one of the big reasons was that there's a lot of literature that says when kids are food insecure, when they're missing a meal over the course of a day, they're not going to come into school well prepared.
Right.
They're going to be more likely to have fights with other kids. Well, I mean, when I miss a meal,
right.
I'm a little grouchy.
I'm the same way.
Yes.
I get a little ornery, and people are like, "Have you eaten yet?" And so
exactly.
Yeah. It's your ability to focus and pay attention. If you're thinking about your stomach growling, how can you look at the blackboard?
And as adults, maybe we can hold it together a little bit more. But when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're coming into school not having had a meal the night before, yeah, it's so much harder to be there. So, you know, for us, we believe that everyone in Nashua, well, everybody in the United States, but everyone in Nashua should have enough food to eat 3 meals a day and access to that food. We can't necessarily make kids eat their meal. I've had 2 kids, and there were nights where like, I'm not eating. That's okay. But the food should be there.
Fridge, yeah.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about Nashua Meals for Kids, because it's quite a production. You know, you are packaging up food, and is it frozen or is it not frozen? You know, tell me just a little bit more about
Absolutely. So right now, over the course of the pandemic, we've been distributing Meals for Kids at 13 different schools in Nashua.
Wow.
And also, there's been a couple of buses that have been bringing meals out in areas where it's hard to walk, but we also know that there are folks living there who are food insecure. We'll prepare the meals at our main location at 2 Quincy Street. Usually that's a volunteer or 2 along with a staff person. Sometimes they might be making lasagna. Sometimes it might be meatloaf. Sometimes it might be chicken nuggets. We'll make a variety of different things. It looks kind of like the TV dinner.
That's what I was saying. It's a little TV dinner, and you actually have a special machine to
seals
seal it up.
And puts a label on it. This is what's in it. And then we freeze them, and we're usually giving out about 2 to 4 cases, 36 meals in a case or so to each of the different schools where we're distributing meals.
So prior to COVID-19 pandemic times, you were not in 13 schools.
No, I think we'd gotten up to 6, maybe 7.
Okay.
And then with the pandemic, a lot of kids count on going a meal,
Absolutely.
breakfast, lunch, are what they're getting at the school. So we really felt we needed to ramp up distribution, make sure that it was available to more schools. I would want to give a shout out. A couple of different agencies helped us with distribution, including the United Way, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club. So we would be making the meals, and one of those organizations would come by, pick them up, and bring them to a different location.
The different sites.
And a couple of volunteers would be there to hand them out. It's really just been amazing seeing all the different ways that people have been helping at this time of crisis. In addition to those 16 schools, we also had, I believe, a total of 8, if not 10, mobile pantries where we were usually fresh produce of some kind, maybe also those meals if we knew there were kids coming by, and then bring them out to a location. It might be affordable senior housing at Davidson Landing. It might be at public housing location. And we put out a couple of folding tables, put the produce out there, volunteers again handing it out, really just trying to make sure that everybody in Nashua has enough food to eat. We were giving out 50% more food over the last 6 months than we did in the previous year.
And how did you pull that off? I mean, yes, I know you got some increased donations, but did you use the Nashua Food Bank, or where did you get all this fresh produce? Because that's a big lift to do that much more, and you already do a lot under regular circumstances.
We were doing at least an additional trip, if not. So we 5 years ago, the community was very generous and helped us purchase a box truck. It can take, I think it's 16 feet long. It can take 8 different pallets of food at a time. And so we were doing at least one additional trip up to the food bank that's in Manchester, New Hampshire Food Bank. And we would just be picking up the carrots, the potatoes, the onions, broccoli,
real
whatever.
staples,
Yep. Yeah, another program that we'd want to mention is it's a gleaning program. So working with local farmers, we got a little bit of funding. I believe it was through the New Hampshire Community Foundation, gave us some funding to purchase food from farmers who are like, I have all this extra produce, I'm not able to get it to the regular, maybe the restaurants they sold it to weren't up and running. And so we got a little bit of food through the gleaning program as well. And of course, people do food drives. And actually, I just got a message today. If you're going to Pheasant Lane Mall, there's a place where you can drop off food. Maybe you need to visit the Apple Store or something. I don't know.
Right.
Or Dick's Sporting Goods. Get your kayak. But you can also, while you're getting your kayak,
everyone wants a kayak today.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Or your bicycle, whatever it is. And while you're getting your kayak or your bicycle or whatever, you can drop off, food donations there. And we swing by there probably, every other week or so, just to pick up food.
Empty it out, clear it out.
Yeah.
So pre-COVID, you were having volunteers in. A lot of your volunteers are over 60, over 65.
Or even over 70, yes. Right.
They've retired from work. They still are vital and active, and they want to help. And then COVID hit. So what happened to your volunteer workforce, and are you bringing them back?
Yeah, we lost probably 70 to 80% of the volunteers.
Wow.
Some of them are, over 70, 75, and we couldn't. We would say, we don't really think it's safe. I'm coming in anyway. Okay,
Right.
Well, we can't stop you. Just amazing folks. But most of them, said, really, I don't feel comfortable coming in. We said,
Good.
really good.
Stay home.
Exactly. We are having people come in on a limited basis. We do ask that if you are coming in, you do like a lot of the basic things, social distance, wear a mask, do a temperature check as people are coming in. So far, knock on wood, we have been able to keep 2 Quincy Street open through the entire pandemic. We haven't had
incredible
a reason to shut that down, which is it's luck. I think a little bit of it, maybe a lot of it is planning, but some of it is just, we've been fortunate. So.
And these kind of events force us to plan for the future as well, to know that you can do this.
Right.
Limiting your volunteers. I think what you did also, you had, because you didn't want to bring your clients into the soup kitchen during, the height of the pandemic, at least that height of the pandemic.
Right.
You had a lot of boxed breakfasts. And
We did. So one of the things that we changed, because we had reduced volunteers, we consolidated the hours. We used to open for breakfast at 7. We now open at 8:30.
Okay.
Just because much of that was just run by about four staff people and maybe 1 or 2 volunteers. And for the first few months, we were doing basically to-go meals. And so come in, get your breakfast, come in, get your dinner, and go somewhere else and eat.
Right.
We have since then, this summer, we opened up to outside dining. I don't know when your viewers are seeing this, but today it's actually snowing, so we're not doing outside dining anymore. But we are doing limited dining inside. Again, socially distanced, wear a mask until you sit down, and then don't linger. Have your meal. We don't want to rush you, but at the same time, once you're done with your meal, we're going to ask that you move on because somebody else needs that spot.
Yeah. And this, the soup kitchen fulfills such an important need in the community, especially in the winter months. I remember when the new building was open.
Right.
And your predecessor, Lisa Christie, said she was beaming from ear to ear because she's like, look, people don't have to wait outside to go through the
Right.
pantry, to go pick up their vegetables and their canned goods. And so that's a concern. And how are you going to address that, or is that still in the plans?
It's something we're working. We've adjusted it a couple times. So I just mentioned the breakfast and dinner and how we were distributing food. We also have the pantry, and the pantry we've again reduced the hours. We used to be open 5 days a week, and we now do pantry Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Okay.
And we do the best model for a pantry is client choice. So you come in, you essentially shop. You say,
Right.
I like pasta, I'm going to get pasta. I don't like rice, or I don't like green beans, but can I have broccoli or something like that? That's the best model because people are getting the food they want, getting the food they eat, they're going to eat, and also you're not wasting any food. You don't
Right.
want people to be given something that then they say, well, I can't eat this, and then they throw it away.
And I'm a witness to this
Yeah.
because I did volunteer quite a bit at the soup
Yeah.
kitchen prior to doing this gig.
Right.
And one thing, I was always very struck that people take what they need.
Yes, exactly.
And there was really no hoarding, none of that. And
Right.
people say, oh, no, I don't like peaches. They
Right.
didn't want the peaches.
Right. Right.
And I always just had such a deep appreciation of that, and that people were selecting what they wanted, what they knew they would eat. No one's taking it home to sell. I mean, I just, all those preconceived ideas that you would think, oh, let's
Right.
stockpile, they just don't do that. They take what they need. And so
It really, it's going to sound a little corny, but it sort of renews your faith in humanity.
Yeah.
That people will say, okay, this is what I need. Are you going to have somebody who, might come in, 3 times in a week when they're only supposed to come in 2? That does happen, and we say, no, you can only come in twice. Come back next week. But in general, people are very considerate about, yep, this is what I need. And also just sort of the notes we get of people saying, I was in a really difficult situation, and you made things possible for me when I didn't have any other place to turn. It's just again, sounds corny. It's that warm feeling in the heart. It's great.
I don't think it sounds corny.
Okay.
I think you're meeting your mission.
Right.
So that's really important. But beyond food and shelter, there's so much that the soup kitchen does. And I don't think people are aware that there's also, when we talked about having a job, you have a job counselor. You have somebody that helps with placement, how to write your resume, how to get dressed for that interview. Tell me a little bit about that.
We do. We have what we call an employment advocate, and that's been hard. I mean, because a lot of that stuff is kind of one-on-one, sitting down across a table. Okay, let's work on your resume, and we've had to socially distance, do outside meetings, things like that. It has been a challenge all the way around. We also have somebody who helps with financial assistance. So if you need help with paying your utilities, or you need money to buy gas to be able to get back and forth to work, or to fix your glasses, or whatever it is, we have somebody who provides that kind of assistance. And also for people who are coming in to stay in our shelter, making sure that you're applying for all the benefits for which you're eligible. So some people might not be aware that, there's food stamps, or what we call supplemental nutrition SNAP benefits.
SNAP, yes.
But they might not be aware that there's a WIC program that's specifically for parents with young children.
Yeah.
So
Women, infant, and children.
There you go. Exactly.
Public health person.
Right. So making sure that people are applying for all their benefits. It's actually something that's true, especially for seniors. I don't know if any of your viewers will know an individual who's over the age of 65 and is on a fixed income. That tends to be the population that doesn't apply for SNAP benefits. So the benefit may not be large. You may be getting an additional $25, $30 a month, but you can actually buy a fair amount of food.
Yeah, that can get you your staple groceries, your
Exactly.
eggs, your milk, and the things that you really need
That's
for that
right.
week.
Right. So making sure that people are saying, oh, I didn't know that I was eligible for that, and making sure they make those applications. It's one of the ways that we help make sure people can get back on their feet and feel secure, feel food secure, but know that there are people around that are watching out for them.
Right. And so when you have people coming into the pantry and other things, we notice a lot of things, right? We notice people without coats. So you have a coat drive.
We have a coat drive.
You have. I saw the other day diapers and I believe sleeping bags were being given out, which broke my
Diapers,
heart, I will say,
yeah.
because I thought, wow, you could see that some of these people clearly did not have a place to put their head at night.
Yeah.
Which brings me to, you have an exciting project coming.
We do.
So we should probably just talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So we have something, we're calling it Spring Street Forward. The Spring Street part of it is that the old elementary school located on Spring Street right across from the post office, which has, believe it or not, been vacant for a little bit over 40 years. Used as storage and things like that. The bike co-op was using it as a place to fix bikes for a little bit of time, but really has been vacant for 40 years. 2 years ago, the Diocese of Manchester said, we would like to partner with you. And they signed a lease with us that we would be able to have the building for 40 years. I believe the rent is $1 a year. We've paid
4
that.
or 40?
40, as in 40.
You said 4, and I'm
Yep.
like, wait, I
Nope.
thought it was 40. Yeah.
Yep, 40 years. The condition is that we need to actually renovate the building. It's a big project. Some things have come up that we weren't expecting. So, for example, we knew that we had to abate the asbestos and lead. We knew that we had to reconfigure walls, put in plumbing, new sprinkler system, things like that. We did not anticipate that the slate roof, which was probably put on in 1892 when the building was built,
Amazing.
now needs to be replaced. So that's another.
Not surprising.
Yeah, right, exactly. We just should have thought about it, didn't think about it until we discovered it. But we have now about $5.4 million in commitments to that project, which is awesome. But we still need about another $1.7 million in order to make it all together. I would want to just share a quick story about a donation that came in just this week. There's a gentleman, again, some people might know him, Albert Savage. Albert was born here in Nashua. If you played Little League in Nashua back in the 50s or 60s or 70s, he was the one who was pretty much keeping that Little League program going. If you played for the Elks, he was the one running that team. Albert saw an article that was done by Dean Shalhoub about we were beginning construction. We had a raise the shovel event, and he remembered. I mean, it wasn't hard for him to remember, but he remembered being married at St. Patrick's. I think it was in 1953 to his wife who just passed away, Marion, and he was like, in honor of my wife, I'd like to make a donation. He made a donation of $20,000.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to, one of the rooms, there's, I believe, 16 of them, but one of the rooms that families will be staying in will be named in honor of Marion.
That's amazing.
So it is.
So you just never know who's watching or
You-
reading, and you're touching people in a lot of different ways. I think it's just a great project. It's a huge building.
It is.
I had the opportunity to tour it, and there's so much space, and it's meeting different types of needs because not all homeless people are the same.
Absolutely.
And so some come with children, some are single. And so the configuration of this building and the size of this building is allowing you to really foster some independent living among some clients that might just need that apartment for another year or whatever it is.
That's right.
So I think that it's just this amazing project for our communities so that we can really lift people up and give them that start so that if they're putting their head down at night, they can wake up and hopefully go to their jobs.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned, there's a couple of elements that are very exciting. The whole project is exciting, but some specific things I'd want to mention. We will have 11 units of housing for the people that, again, your viewer might be walking down the street and seeing somebody today, seeing somebody who's the same person they saw a couple of weeks ago, and maybe even a couple of months ago, who has a hard time staying housed. So we're going to have 11 units where folks like that say, you know what, you don't need to worry about paying the rent. If you don't have any money, we're still going to make sure that you have this efficiency apartment to stay in, and make sure that, okay, we're going to at least get you off the street. We're going to at least make sure that frostbite is not a concern.
Right.
So that's exciting. Another is that we are going to have space for young kids. Most people don't realize that a family shelter is really a bedroom. And so a family that's staying in a shelter is staying in a bedroom, and that's the only place the kids have to play, is that bedroom. So we're going to have a dedicated classroom that is just for young kids to be able to go around and be kids. We're going to partner with the PALS program, which run a program out in the gymnasium to make sure so that when kids are coming home from school, they can just go right to the PALS program and run around in the gym.
That's great.
And the last thing that I'm also just really excited about is we're going to keep, again, it's an old school, so we're going to keep 2 of the classrooms as classrooms. And so then we can invite you in to do a public health conversation with folks staying in the shelter. There's a woman, Melissa, who does yoga on Main Street, and she said, I would love to come in and do a morning yoga session at the shelter. Or maybe a GED class, or maybe somebody says, hey, I would like to teach chess to people staying. Why not? Well, we're going to have room where people can be doing those kinds of classes and having those kinds of conversations.
Right, that's fabulous,
Yes.
because it's not just about, sleeping at night. And I love the idea that you can get out of your room.
Right.
And either, whether it's socializing or having the kids being able to have a place to play.
Right.
That's outside of where they sleep. That's really, it's going to be a huge benefit for those families and hopefully help them get back on their feet a little bit faster.
Absolutely. Yeah. And stay. Once they
stay
we
on
were
their
like,
feet, yes.
we want you to go. Come
We
back
hope when
as
that
guests.
lease is up in 40 years, there will
Right.
be no more need for it.
That would be
you know.
ideal.
I'll
That's
be
what we
long
hope for.
gone by then.
Right.
But
Right.
So, so all of this stuff, it costs money. I mean, and so this
does.
is where, again, full disclosure.
You are on the board.
I am on the board, and I
Yep.
do chair the auction. We run an auction every year to cover operating expenses. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them.
It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. It does cover a good chunk of, you could say probably about 10% of our operating budget comes from the auction. And it's going to be harder this year because we can't get together like we normally do.
Right, so we're used to having, a live auctioneer and a silent auction and lots of games, and we can't do that. So
Right.
we've pivoted. That's the
Right.
word of
Yep.
2020, how to pivot.
Right.
And so there will be a virtual auction, and so we hope people will go to nsks.org and sign up for that auction. Register.
It's really easy.
It's really easy.
yeah.
You can text to register. But,
Text to register, and then you can get on your phone. You can see all the different things. So actually, somebody donated a couple of Nordstrom gift cards. So I have now bid on the Nordstrom gift cards. I hope nobody else sees those. I suspect somebody will.
Yeah,
But-
and I hope that people that are watching go and
Right.
register and drive the price up on
and
those
drive the
cards.
price up. Absolutely.
So,
yes.
but so we're gonna still broadcast live. You and I will be in a studio, and hopefully people will have their dinner delivered because that's part of it. We're trying to simulate some kind of party at home.
Exactly.
Safe,
Right.
socially
Right.
distanced.
Open whatever beverage you feel is most appropriate.
And
Yep.
we'll still do our Fund a Need, and we'll do those kind of things. And that's important because this supports the National Meals for Kids that you
Absolutely.
were just speaking of in the beginning of our interview.
Really want to mention that the Fund a Need, so the entire auction supports our operating expenses. The Fund a Need is just supporting those programs at NSKS that target kids. So
Right.
there's the Meals for Kids, there's things that happen in the shelter, there's a
The backpack program is another one.
backpack program in the summer that we give school supplies to kids. There's a program for kids that need Christmas presents. There's a birthday room. There's a lot of different things that happen around kids, and this is your opportunity to support that. If you're like, I want to make sure I'm supporting the young people, the people who are most vulnerable, most at risk in our community, this is your opportunity to support that.
Right, and there are other ways to support the shelter, whether it's volunteering, the soup kitchen and shelter, I should say.
Absolutely.
So whether it's volunteering, donating, attending one of our events, we would really appreciate any of that support that's out there, because we really need, during these times, our need is greater than ever. Right. It's been a crazy year. It's not ending yet. And so we just ask people to, keep us in mind. And then also thank you as the director of the Soup Kitchen for what you provide for our community, because this is so important. We cannot forget our most vulnerable. A lot of us are very blessed because we have a place to put our heads at night and a warm meal to eat. But there are a lot of people that don't. So thank you and your staff for all the work you do.
We couldn't do it without you.
Thanks for joining us. And just remember, if you need a COVID-19 test, you can sign up on our website. Testing clinics are held every Tuesday from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Elm Street parking garage, unless there's a holiday. Next week will be on a Monday, but every Tuesday, Elm Street parking garage, 3 to 5 p.m. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.